Let's give a call. If I can get this to work. Here we
Hi,
go.
Ben.
Just turn this around, darling, and we're with you. Lesley, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm just a bit loud.
Long time no see.
Yeah. I can't remember where we were last time. You was coaching some sporting and I was doing some sports psychology.
Yeah, and so for everybody that's watching, this is a very old and dear friend of mine, Lesley Goddard. Lesley Goddard Wrench now. She's married and living in the States. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'll just give you a quick rundown. So Lesley's got medals at World Championship, medals at European Championship, silver and bronze at the Commonwealth Games, gold at the Confederation Games. She's represented England, Great Britain or whatever in 4 different disciplines: Olympic trench, double trap, universal trench and DTL, along with many other accolades that I'm going to incorporate into my questions later on. She's a published author, but we're going to get into all of that later on. So first off, Lesley, welcome. Thanks for giving us your time.
Thank you, Ben.
So what generally happens is I've done my research on you. As you know, we've been speaking. I know Nicola's been spying on you. I've been on Google all day. I'll be reading questions from my sheet. We've got an influx of nearly 100 people coming up on here already. They'll be firing their questions and we'll get into it. Rightly so. Everybody wants advice on the mental game, but after your astonishing career, I think it's only fair that we touch on that first and give you the recognition that you deserve before we pick your brains to make ourselves better. So if that's okay. So Lesley, give us a bit of a one interesting fact that we do know is that you were runner-up at the English Open after only 6 months of competing.
Yeah, that was at the down the line.
So talk me through from there. What took you from there to a gold at the Commonwealth Federation Games? How did it all begin?
My ex-husband was a game shooter. He brought a clay trap down to my parents' farm and we shot a few targets. Then I got introduced to Joe Wheater.
Yep.
I'm sure that's a name that you remember.
Yeah.
Joe lived only about 2 miles down the road from us, and we started calling in to see him and his wife, and he took us shooting to, can't remember the name of it now, and eventually Joe had a gun shop. He sold that, bought a farm in Blighton in Gainsborough and opened up a shooting school.
Still there now?
Yeah, anyway, we used to go and help shoot the clays to make sure they were right as he put the traps in, and so consequently I got an awful lot of coaching off Joe. Learned a lot. I learned what a 5-bar 12-foot gate distance in front of a sporting clay pit.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal talent, Joe, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. And so we started going up to the local gun club, shot a little bit of down the line, a little bit of ski. I've seen photographs of me. Oh my God, what a dreadful style. But I was a beginner. Now I look at it and I cringe. And I kept shooting down the line and somebody kept saying to me, "You're pretty good at this. Why don't you try for the England team?" And I just went, "Well, I've only just started." I think this was probably in about October of 1990. And then in the January of 1991, I decided to shoot the down-the-line selection shoots. We started in March, and the English Open was in June, and I made the England team. And I remember one of the other ladies coming up to me as I was sat and waiting for the scores to come in. And she said, "Oh, we haven't seen you around before. Where have you been?" I went, "I've only just started." And she sort of went and walked off. I had no clue what I had done, none at all. I'd just gone and shot targets. I think I shot 98 to, I'm going to say 296, 294, something like that. I was 1 point behind the person that won it. So there you go. And then I shot that in 91, made the team. I didn't make the team in 92, but I actually went for a Great Britain Olympic track training day have a go day, and I just got bit. I was like, yeah.
And your career just spiraled from there.
Yeah, Billy Walker at the East Yorkshire Gun Club. He was there, and we booked a lesson with him. And the first claim came out, and I said, "Where is it?" He said, "It's landed over there."
It's gone already.
I did manage to shoot 18 on that first proper round.
It's different. I remember my first go, and when I first had my go, I was already like a 4 or 5 time world champion, and I was like, yeah, this can't be that diff, Paul. Okay. Okay. This is a little different. So obviously you fell in love with shooting, you fell in love with the Olympic disciplines, but also you were very successful in the universal trench discipline, which we haven't had anybody on the show that's ever shot universal trench. So just explain the differences. I've explained Olympic trench to them, but go through and explain what universal trench is, Lesley.
Universal trench is the 5 centre traps of the Olympic trap range, and they all cross over a centre point. So whereas at Olympic trap you've got 3 clays and you get a right and a left and a straightaway that could be an angle, any height, whereas universal they all cross over a certain point in front of the 5 traps. So you roughly know where they're going to be going or where you're going to see them, but then like anything else, you still got to shoot them.
But instead of on peg 1, like Michael Diamond was talking to us about, instead of pointing in front of you, you're always pointing to the centre, aren't you? Everything's going to come from the 5 in the middle.
Yeah, it's a bit like down the line where on peg 1 you stand and you put the gun to the outer side of the trap. It's a little bit like that. You almost intercept them, but it was fun. It was a light relief universal trench was from the seriousness of Olympic trap. In actual fact, through shooting universal trench, I learnt to relax and enjoy, and then I took that with me into Olympic trap.
We're going to get into your mental side soon, don't worry, we've got thousands of questions. What's quite interesting now, one of the superstars of the modern game is the gentleman Fernandez. I've actually been, everyone's mentioned him, so I've been actually trying to reach him today. And it seems that he does not shoot much Olympic trench. He shoots only universal trench, and then Olympic trench for World Cup events is what I've been seeing from him today. His main practice is universal trench.
What country is he from? Is
Spain. Spanish.
Spain. All right.
So we're talking a career that spanned decades with highs, lots and lots of highs. There are lows, which you've very generously said we can talk about later on. Talk me through your Commonwealth Games appearances, because one thing that we've noted that from all of the other Com Games athletes that we've had on is that they are actually a major games. We probably underestimated them, and even myself underestimated them as a title within the clay pigeon world. We spoke to Russell, we spoke to Michael, Matthew French and everybody, and actually how highly regarded they are.
The Commonwealth is like a small Olympics.
Yeah.
Michael Diamond won the gold in 2002 in Manchester.
Yeah.
My mum came to watch. She actually thought that I did straw bale shoots. She was amazed. And then Michael introduced him, or I asked Michael to introduce himself to my mum, and she's going, "Oh God, it's Michael Diamond."
Because actually, for the Com Games up there, Russell, Mark, and Lauren stayed at my house for a few nights. Nicola Heron's just put on there that Alberto Fernandez has his own Olympic trap range, so not sure who told you that. That just come from a Spanish shooter today that was trying to translate between the two, that his love and he practices most on a universal trench. Hopefully we can clear that up for good, because that was something that came in today. The thing with the internet and translation is it's very difficult to get lost up. So When you were at your peak, Lesley, everybody wants to know, talk us through your equipment. You were with Gamble, weren't you?
Yeah, when I started shooting double trap, Olympic trap, and then we had to shoot double trap because Olympic trap and Olympic skeet was taken off us, and they gave us double trap. And I was using a grade 3 Miracle, very nice gun. and I knew to be the best, you had to have the right equipment, which was the Boss Action, the lighter weight Action, Perazzi, Beretta, and I was looking towards a Perazzi and did use one for a short time because my first Gamba that was made to fit me got stolen.
Right.
Never arrived. Somebody got a nice gun.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to use the Perazzi because they got the V springs, and I didn't want to stand on the line and wonder if that trigger was not going to work because the spring had broke.
Yeah.
So we found Gamba, and their springs are all encased in metal, and they're coil springs, so they always work. They might be a bit slow, but they always work. So we went to Gamba. That would be, I don't remember. Don't remember what year that would be. But
that's when you know you've had a great career, when you don't remember. That's when you know it's been a belter.
Yeah. And I've used Gambas ever since. They're good guns. I was sponsored by Ely cartridges.
Yeah.
They sponsored me. Hull Cartridge Company sponsored me originally, and then Ely stepped in and I got a good deal with them.
Hijacked you. So not only at the Commonwealth Games as an individual in the badge matches, you were very successful, but you had a lot of success in the two-woman team events as well.
Yeah. At the Commonwealth Games Federation match in 2001 in Manchester, I won the individual gold. I actually haven't been shooting particularly well, but I got my head down, won individual gold. And I thought I was in the pairs, but I wasn't. Anita and Sarah Wixie were the pairs. They got on the podium in silver, if my mind is right. And then when we had the Commonwealth Games, Anita and I were actually the team, and we got silver. I got a silver in the badge match, which is the Federation Games one, actually run at the same time as the Commonwealths. And Anita and I got a silver in the pairs. And then when we went to the Federation Games in 2005 in Melbourne in Australia, Anita and I was paired up again, and we got the gold medal.
Superb.
And the music was Land of Hope and Glory. I didn't know the words. And the Scottish lady, whose name escapes me, was actually singing it. She said, "You need to learn this," so I did.
Yeah, you learned to have
and then they changed it to Jerusalem.
On your career then, and we spoke to Michael about this, you've obviously seen many changes to the sport in the finals, the weight of the cartridges, etc. In your eyes, is the sport heading in the right direction, or was it better years ago?
I think the sport has got to be kept interesting.
Yeah.
And it's got to keep people aware and keen, and changes need to happen, and you have to go with the flow with those changes.
Yeah, it's definitely got to try. They've got to keep it exciting, but they've got to get it shorter, like they are now with the finals, aren't they? Where it can take, they can show the highlights and they don't have to show a highlight reel, and where people just turn over. So
that gets boring watching the same shots 25 times.
Yeah.
The finals that they've got now are pretty interesting. They are. You sit there and you think, oh, who's where?
Yeah.
So they are good for TV.
What would you class? I always ask this question. I'd like to know two answers. What's your biggest achievement that you would classify your biggest achievement? But then what's your best memory, which does not have to include a win? It could just be something else within the sport.
Oh, man. I wish you'd asked me this to think about earlier.
Exactly. Then you give me a better answer. This way I get a better answer.
The best memory is I was at the World Cup in Italy. I'd won the quota place for Beijing Olympics for Great Britain, of course, not mine. And that weighed heavy, surprisingly enough. And I spoke to a sports psychologist who had worked with Great Britain but was working with somebody else called Peter Terry. He's now in Australia, very well-known guy. And I said, "Peter, do you mind if I have a word with you?" And he no, and I explained how I felt. And he said, "Well, how do you think the other people feel that have won these quota places?" And I went, "Oh," and that changed my mind. And we're talking about mind things.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later on, before the competition started, I was actually having a massage with the physio. And Peter came into the tent and said, "Lesley, can I have a word with you when you finished?" And I went outside the tent, and Peter said to me, you could win this.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the thought that actually comes to mind.
Yeah, perfect.
You know what? The fact that somebody believed
Yeah,
in me,
yeah, doubles the bubble.
kicked my ass. I got into the final in 6th place, and I came out in 2nd.
Amazing. That's what I want. We can all talk about, like, people say to me, like, what's your best win? And I was like, I don't. My best memories don't involve winning. The things like that, the little story that made a difference to your career. That's the part that I want to touch on.
And there is one more like that. And it was the Commonwealth Games in Australia. We got a coach, Peter, somebody. Oh, his name escapes me. And I didn't do as well in the Commonwealth Games in the individual as I would have liked to do in the competition. But Peter said to me on the way, as we were finishing, he said, "You will win a quota place this year." That was 2006.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that somebody actually believed in me, because people either they like me or they hate me.
Welcome to my world.
I've got no middle ground. You either like me or you don't like me. Because what comes out my mouth is
welcome.
I'm not quite as bad as Nicola.
Welcome to the world of Ben. So
yeah. So the fact that 2 people said that to me, and I had a phenomenal year in 2006. Yeah.
Well, let's get this out the way. You know, I thank you so much for allowing me to ask you this, because there won't be many people on here that know this. So they understand the quota places. That's been explained to many people. So you went out, you worked your behind off, and you got a quota place for Great Britain. So what happens with a quota place? You win the quota place for your country, but I think it's only happened twice ever, where we're one of the countries that generally, correct me if I'm wrong, the athlete generally keeps their own quota place.
Yeah, that was the presumption, as long as they hadn't gone off. They haven't gone off the board.
Yeah. So, like, if you win a quota place in the USA, it goes to the association. They hold huge amounts of target competitions, and they pick their quota places. So, unfortunately, due to bad politics in the game, they actually removed your quota place and gave it to somebody else.
Yeah, I was 7th in the world, and that person was 9th.
And they took it and gave it to somebody else. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on this, because I understand the disappointment that must have bring, and probably still does bring. But how did that change?
You're right.
Yeah. And I understand that. That's why I want to respect it and get it out the way.
My lifetime ambition was taken away from me.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only person in Great Britain that won a quota place that was not allowed to take it up.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
And I was on the top of my game.
Yeah.
I'll never understand it, not ever.
Well, I think it's easy to understand. You said what you said earlier on. It's politics and bullshit. It's that simple. And I don't like swearing, but it is what it is. But how did that change your approach going forward, Lesley? What did that do to you?
It broke my heart, Ben.
Yeah, obviously.
I decided that and funny enough, that year I was getting divorced as well. I actually moved into my new house as a single person on the 8th of August 2008, when the games were on, the day opening ceremony. I never saw any of it.
Yeah.
And then my circumstances had changed, and I said to my mum at the end of the year, what am I going to do, Mum, about my shooting? She said, well, you got the Commonwealth Games in 2010 in India. Why don't you work towards that? So I went, okay. So I got myself a little caravan, and I got my dog, and off I went round the shoots and doing some coaching and what have you. And I just was shooting for my pleasure. For the first time in my life, I just shot for my pleasure.
Yeah.
And I honestly won everything, Ben. I'm not kidding. And I was up there and I was beating the men, just because there was no pressure at all.
Yeah. And
I thoroughly enjoyed it. But as I got to the end of that year, I had to force myself to win the British Grand Prix. I thought to myself, well, you can either give it away or you can make them win it. So I decided they'd better win it. So I actually won that. And then for some reason, I didn't want to shoot the last OT selection shoot in September. And I've got it, and this is about your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm going, shall I shoot it? Well, I don't really want to shoot it. I'm going to retire. I'm going to stop shooting. But I've already paid the money, so I ought to shoot it. So the story is that I rang Anita Northup and Shona Marshall and said, when are you coming up to Beverley for the last selection shoot? And they went, on the Thursday night. I said, good, we're meeting up for dinner. I've got something to tell you. And they went, what? I said, no, you've got to wait. So that night, that Thursday night before the last selection shoot of the year, they said, well, what have you got to tell us? I went, I'm retiring. And Nita went, no, you're not. You're just giving up international shooting. I went, no, I'm retiring. I'm done. And they looked at me absolutely gobsmacked because they didn't believe me. They really didn't believe me. But do you know what, Ben? My mind had already gone home. I could not hit a pig in the passage that weekend. I think I shot 54 out of 75. I think that was my second to worst score in the whole of my life. My mind had gone. My heart had gone.
Checked out.
I had no heart left. And that was my last shoot of the year. And they didn't believe that I would shoot again. But that was the last time I shot for 3 years. And then I only started again because people kept nagging at me.
Lesley, I thank you for talking about that because that's a story. And look, from somebody that has the same grief in the sport, I respect you. I respect you for talking about it. And as a member of the shooting, I apologise. I apologise for how you were treated by... No, I do. I sincerely, because I don't think it's correct. And if I can say my sorry, then I will do. And I think you deserve to be treated better than that. So I apologise for the people that did that to you.
Thank you, Ben.
No, my pleasure. Then the real Lesley comes out. This is the one we want. So you moved into full-time coaching. You were handed a dream job of the Kuwait national coach. Started off with the junior and ladies teams there. You then got promoted or however you want to look at it. You were coaching the senior teams. You made some big decisions involving juniors over there that led them to a quota place. And again, another dream was shattered.
Yeah, because my second ambition in life was to, if I couldn't go as a competitor, then to go as a coach with one of the shooters. And my junior, he won the world championships. So the next shoot, I put him in the senior team, and he actually won the quota place for London Olympics. I'm going, yes. And then I found out that I wasn't going.
Yeah.
This is my shooter. I am the Olympic national coach for Kuwait, and I'm not going. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again.
It's happening again.
Yeah. So once I found that out, I tried to speak to Sheikh Salman and couldn't get hold of him because he would come in at night and I needed to sleep because we were up early. And I just didn't renew my contract. I eventually got to speak to him and he said, why are you leaving, Lesley? I said, well, you know what I said about Beijing Olympics? And he went, yeah. And I said, my second goal was to be a coach for a shooter and go to the Olympics. And he said, yeah. And I said, and Talal's won that quota place. And he went, yeah. I said, am I going with him? And he went, no. And I said, why not? And he said, it's political. I said, then you don't deserve to keep me, and I left.
And off you went. Good on you.
It was never about money. I mean, money was good.
Yeah.
I bought 2 houses while I was in Kuwait. But it was not about that. It was never ever about that. It was always about my ambition. So
Nicola Heron says, please tell them her advice of what she told you to tell people. I don't ever want to hear this.
Say that. Go on, you'll have to explain that one to me.
Nicola Heron says, tell them what advice she gave you to tell the Sheikh. I don't know. I don't remember. I think it'll be something to do with effing stuff it, knowing Nicola.
No, I didn't. No, I was very polite. I didn't swear. I work at not doing that. I like to speak to people as I would be spoken to.
But Nicola's superb for the sport.
I know it was disappointing yet again, and so off I went. I did actually get to the 2012 Olympics with a ticket from Shona Marshall, so I did go and I watched the Ladies' Day, which was great because the young lass that won it, the Italian girl Jessica Rossi, we'd been training with her in the Italian shooting ground, and I'd watched her as a junior and thought, yeah, this lass has got it.
Yeah, 75 straight too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
and then I actually saw the men on that day training, and whoever had been coaching Talal afterwards had changed him, and they'd taken away what made him so good.
Well, that's just coaching for you, which we're going to get into shortly.
Yeah.
Last question on your career. And people always say not to include, but I want you included. It can be male or female. Give me your dream 6-man squad or person squad. I've got to get better. I've got to get better at being politically correct here. 6-man dream squad. 6-person dream squad.
What, for shooting?
Yeah, for Olympic trench, you're going out there. Who are the 5 people you want with you?
Olympic trench. Michael Diamond. Jessica Rossi. Satu Pasilla, who was at the top of the game when I was first shooting. Richard Foles, if he'd shot OT.
Yeah. There's 4. 2 more. One more.
Brain won't tell me anymore. It'll come up in a few minutes.
Yeah, just tell me in a minute. So, everyone's going to want to get into it. You're a published author. You've got the book there, I believe, for us. So, the shooting secrets. What winners know and coaches don't tell you. She's not talking for me because I tell you all everything. One thing I'm interested in, and I glanced past it, and I didn't want to over-research it because I wanted you to educate me where I don't want to cut in all the time. But I noticed something quite big in the book was PDOSR.
Perfect disciplined one-shot routine.
Right, here we go, guys. This is what you want to know. Here we go. Talk us through it. I'll sit back.
Okay, so you walk out onto the range, you step onto the peg or the post, depending which country you come from, and you have a routine. And most people do that routine without even know what they're doing. So the point is that how do you know if that routine is perfect and it's disciplined if you don't know what you're doing? Right. So I get people to write their routine down from the point of how they put their feet down, how they look out to the range, how they put the cartridges in the gun. It's detailed as if it was actually on a film. And then if that routine changes, then you know that you're not doing your perfect, disciplined one-shot routine, because it's always one shot. Doesn't matter if you're shooting a pair, you've still got to have that routine to be ready for the first of the pair and the second of the pair.
Correct.
So what I've said is that you have to perfect the perfect disciplined one-shot routine, because when it's perfected, then you know darn well you're going to get it right every time. And when you get it right every time, then you're going to hit every single clay. To break that down, you're talking about, have you used your breathing to bring your mind to where it needs to be? Have you got your shoulders relaxed enough to be able to move comfortably? And in the book, I watched a shooter that I've worked with a lot. I know him very, very well. And I was watching him in the World Cup final, and I watched him, and his shoulder moved that much once he'd mounted the gun, and I went, he's going to miss this, because he was tight. He put his gun up, and instead of just bringing his gun up, his shoulder moved. And I noticed it because that's what I looked for, and I went, uh-oh, and I watched him do that 2 or 3 times. Now, if he had perfected his one-shot routine, he would have recognised that shoulder was tight, and he'd have used his breathing to bring him down to make sure that he was totally relaxed for every single one shot. I mean, you're talking really a smidgen, but that was the difference between hitting and missing.
But a smidgen here is big 70 yards away.
Oh yeah.
You know, a smidgen here is not a smidgen down there.
It indicated of what was going on in the brain. We're in a pressure situation. It's about the pressure of breaking the clay. And that's just going to lead me into a book that I read, Zen in the Art of Archery. An absolute brilliant book. It was a pig to read.
Probably in Chinese.
No, it's English. No, look. Wait a minute, look, I'll show you.
That's why it was a pig to read. It's in Mandarin.
No, it was in it, but you read it and you read a bit and you had to think about it. And I read this book, and it was about finding peace of mind to do what you know you can do.
Right.
But it's allowing the body to do what you've trained it to do with a calm mind. It's Zen. It is Zen in the art of shooting. So I read this, and I went out to a selection shoot down at Bisley, and I missed the first clay out and shot 24 straight. Totally relaxed, totally calm. It was not about breaking clays. It was about finding that peace of mind, that calmness within the body, using that one-shot routine and being right. I went out on the next line, hit the first one, missed the second one, shot 24. I was like, oh, okay. And went out on the third line, missed the first one, shot 24 straight, so I shot 72 out of 75, highest score ever put in. Went in the final, I think probably shot, I don't know, something like 23, 24 single barrel. And it was not about breaking the clay, it was about finding this calmness, this peace of mind, but having the body in such a state that the mind was telling the body to do the work, and then you were able to do it. So this, for me, was an absolute fabulous book because it changed my mind.
Right.
Made a big difference because it takes the pressure off. It's not about breaking the clay anymore. It's about what you're doing here and what's going on between the ears. So anybody that has got to a certain level that just needs to find that little bit extra would probably enjoy reading that book and using what it teaches you.
But everybody all of the champions that we've had on in every discipline, we've had Olympic skeet, double trap, sporting, we've had champions from all walks of life. And one thing that we've all come across the same thing is that the mental game takes over. Once you've got the technical side dialed in, and more so, now we've got over 100 people watching you right now that are not champions, but the mental game can still take them from 80 to 86, and then it will take them from 86 to 87. Now, my questions to you are, how do you help a shooter of any discipline stop shooting the occasion and just shoot the clays? So when they say, I'm going to shoot my last pair for a straight. Now, my thoughts on this is that you can't unknow what you already know. You can't now tell yourself that it's not straight, it's not for this, because it is. And you've got to somehow cycle it, disperse it, and deal with it.
Exactly. So going back to the perfect discipline one-shot routine, when you have learned exactly what you do that makes you break the clays, you've put yourself into a response of stepping onto that post, using the breathing, the centering breathing to calm the mind, to relax the body, and you do what you do. So then you've got thought, and you're thinking about the future. So you're time traveling. You're not in the moment of the one shot. So I call it a jack in the box. You know, a jack in the box. You press the lid and he pops out and goes, yay!
We've just had a question. Ask Lesley about the jack in the box.
Yeah, well, I call the conscious mind is the jack in the box, and as soon as you think, oh, I could win this, or I need to shoot this pair, Jack comes out of his box, and Jack shoots, excuse my language, shit. So you have to put Jack back in the box, and that's where your perfect discipline one-shot routine puts you into the right frame of mind for every single one shot. And the only way that you can do that is to practice it and practice it and practice it. And that the more you practice perfecting the perfect discipline one-shot routine, the better your mind is at staying where it's meant to be. I always think of it as having a hammer in the toolbox. You only need the hammer when you need to hit something, but the rest of the time it's in the toolbox. Yeah. So you only need that hammer to smack Jack on the head to get him back in his box. And that's what your one-shot routine teaches you to do, is to keep Jack in the box.
But I think the pre-shot routine sort of came into sporting with myself probably about, I'm going to say 2005, something like that, when I was coming across to Olympic trench and dabbling. Now everybody talks about the pre-shot routine. Now, for me, the only thing worse than not having a pre-shot routine is having a bad pre-shot routine that's overloaded.
Yeah.
And you simply now, I think that's worse than not having one.
It doesn't really matter what your routine is, as long as it's getting you focused mentally and relaxed physically to be able to shoot the clay. So you're taking the conscious mind out of the equation, and the subconscious mind is doing the shooting for you. Having said that, I can watch people shoot. Just for instance, when I went shooting for the first time 2 weeks ago in, I'm going to say, about 3 years. And I've got a cataract in my right eye, so there's no clarity on the clay. And I'm right master eye, and I have a patch on the left because I had cross-eye dominant. And I can't really see these clays. I shot 24 out of 25 twice, because all I concentrated on was the one-shot routine. But the story is, there's a young lad there, pretty darn good shot, but I'm watching him. Yes, he could improve his style, but he's a darn good shot. But he wasn't ready when he called.
Yeah.
You know, he put his gun up, he wasn't letting his eyes be ready. And I actually went over to him and said, would you mind if I said something? Because somebody had told him who I was. And he went, no. And I said, you're calling for the clay before you're even ready. I said, you're throwing your gun up and you're not giving your eyes time to be ready, just that nanosecond longer just to be able to see that clay. I said, it's costing you every time. And he went, oh, not got a clue. But I can watch, even experienced shooters, I can watch them and I can tell you whether they're going to hit the clay or not, just purely by their body language.
But that's what a good coach does, isn't it? They pay attention. That's what you're there for. Just had a question come in for you. Have you ever referenced the paradox theory?
No.
The chimp paradox theory, sorry.
No.
I don't know me that. Just asking questions that get faced with me. A few people are saying they've just ordered your book.
Outskirts Press or Amazon.
Yeah, they all say they've just got it on Amazon. So, right, I'm going to put some questions to you.
Can I just interject 1 minute? Anybody that orders my book, if you've got a query, just email me. Lesley Goddard at hotmail.co.uk. You know, just give me an email and I'm quite happy to answer questions.
Superb. Excellent. Right, we're going to go with a case study. And because I'm talking to you, we're going to make that case study me. You're
irretrievable.
My mind is super active.
Yeah.
Like, I can think of 10 things at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I've done, my pre-shot routine covers everything that I needed to cover. But I would say from shooting my final pair to calling pull for the next one is going to be under 3 seconds.
And is that what you normally do?
Always. And since I started doing it, the success. So if I slow that down, I can't contain my thoughts from just going. They can disappear into rugby. They can disappear into. I have to be fast, so I can go hold point, kill point, method, pull. If I go hold point and then I'm then well, what if that guy I'm playing against on Saturday? He's quite big. I'm gonna have to go. And I think I can't. I have to contain it.
Yeah. Well, you've learnt to contain it in your way.
Yeah.
I learned to contain it in my way. Other people learn to contain it in whatever way that they come up with. And if it works for you, that's fine.
But is there such thing as
100% of the time, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is there faster minds and slower minds that would go at different paces? Like,
oh yeah.
You know, like there's a young kid out there called Joseph Fanese at the minute. He must take 30 seconds between shots.
Yeah.
But if I took 30 seconds, I'd be asleep.
Yeah, but you're different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to say is what you see with people that the caliber of the B class, the A class, touching double A that they watch these shooters and they try and emulate their perfect one-shot routine. What I'm trying to say is you've got to find your own balance, and each pre-shot routine, what I've found in my teaching experience, is bespoke and built completely around that individual's mindset.
Absolutely. There was something you said a few minutes ago about how do you stop the mind going, oh, this is a big competition. I had a 14-year-old boy come and see me. He was a sailor, and nobody in his family sailed, but he decided he wanted to start sailing, which he did, and it turned out he was very good at it. I mean, I know nothing about sailing. Apparently you can see on the water where the wind is and all sorts of things. And this young man came in and hit with his mum, and at that time I was working from home. I didn't have a waiting room, and sometimes you have to work with people on their own. Well, obviously with kids you've got to be careful. So I'd spoken to mum on the phone, and she came with her son, and I said, if he doesn't want you in the room, you're going to have to go sit in your car because I don't have a waiting room. So anyway, he came in and we had a bit of a chat, and I said, do you want your mum here? And he said, no, I don't. So obviously I asked mum if that was okay, and she said yes. And I said, oh, well, we'll get him sorted. And she said, I hope so, because he's got a big competition this weekend. And I went, stop right there.
Sit back down.
I said, well, she stood at the door. I said, is it the same boat? And the lad's going, yeah. Is it the same sails? Yeah. Is it the same water? Yeah. And the same wind? Yeah. I said, so it's just another day of sailing. It's only the word big that mum's put in your head that makes it something different. Yeah. And my work with that kid was done in that minute.
Yeah.
And the parents were causing the problem in blowing up this competition to be something else. And all it was another day sailing. So with that young man, I did my work there and then. Obviously, I did more work with him. But one of the things that we did under hypnosis, because I use hypnosis to reiterate the things that you need to do, and I gave him permission to go and enjoy himself.
Yeah.
And I got a phone message from his mum that he'd stayed in because he was about to come out the England development squad, and he'd stayed in the squad. He'd had a really, really good day. And so if you relate that to clays, how many people go, oh God, I'm going to the British Grand Prix, it's a big shoot, or I'm going to the World Championships, it's a big shoot. Hang on a minute, is it the same gun?
Yeah.
Is it the same cartridges? Is it the same clays? What's different? Only what's going in on your head. Yeah,
it's a big saying in rugby. It's a huge saying in rugby. You know, you play the game, not the occasion. You know, it's the same. It's 15 of you. You know, you've got to go that. But I think it's something that I find, and maybe this is where you can help the audience out, is that pressure situation is very hard to practice without it being a pressure situation.
If you only shoot the clay, and it's not about shooting the clay. This is why I said to you about this book, Zen in the Art of Archery. If you change what you're doing mentally into what you're doing here, and that's where the perfect discipline one-shot routine comes in. It's not about breaking the clay. It's about doing it right here, because the clay will break anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's about a change of mind. It really is. If you want to be the best in the world, then you need to take away about breaking the clay. You need to just get into what it is that you do here that is correct, perfected, to break the clay out there.
And that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking these questions, because these people are going to get. You know, if I ask the right questions that they would be asking, they're going to get the information out of it. So that's great. We've got the perfect one-shot routine. We're comfortable that we're the best in the world. We walk onto the
and just a second though, because a change of mind is when you've got an elite shooter going out to shoot, they know they're going to break the clay. Everybody else hopes to break the clay.
There's a big difference there. Yeah.
And your perfect discipline one-shot routine teaches you to know how to break the clay.
But then what happens?
You you know what you're doing. When you know what you're doing, you become confident in what you're doing. You know how to break the clay. You know what you've got to do.
But we even had Vasily Mosin on last night, the double trap champion, and he said the same thing. So you can have a one-shot routine, you can be perfect in the moment, but it doesn't matter who you are, those demons can surface. It doesn't matter who you are.
They can. And
he sat there and he said that World Championship, he tied for the gold medal, he walked onto the peg, the gentleman that he was shooting off against, I think he said it was Al Fahidi from, I can't remember, and he missed one. So he said, here we go, pre-shot routine, let's all... And then the noise just said, hit this pair, you're world champion.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Well, that's where your routine puts you into the triggered response of being mentally ready for that one clay.
Yeah, no, that's what...
Those thoughts are going to come in your head,
yeah.
But what we're doing is, just say, for instance, I teach you a breathing technique and you've got... automatic blinders they call them over here. So you take a breath and you go, what's happened to your blinkers? They've focused you in front. All that's gone from behind, but that one breath has put Jack back in his box to keep your mind calm. The breath associated with a physical relaxation has got you relaxed. You might need to do 1 or 2 or 3,
yeah.
But the more you practice it, the more instant your triggered response is to put you in that mindset that you've been working on perfecting when you do your perfect discipline one-shot routine.
If I do that when I'm in the middle of a competition, I'll drop my gun.
That was just an example, automatic blinkers that come in.
No, I get it.
I'll drop mine as well. Devil.
So what took you down the mental routine route? What took you to what opened up the interest? How did it lead to it?
We'll go right back to 1994, and I was away at the World Championships in Italy, fairly new into Olympic trap. I ain't got a bloody clue what I was doing. I'm a farm girl, I've lived on a farm all my life, and all of a sudden, my first trip with the Great Britain shooting team was to try Cyprus. I'd never been on a plane before.
Crops, bro.
I talk about get thrown into the deep end. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I was in Italy. I actually got viral meningitis. They thought it was a migraine, but God, I did feel ill. I managed to get back to England, and I ended up in hospital, and it was a long, long time before I was physically able to do anything. Getting from the bed to the sofa was exhausting. So when I started shooting again the next year, mentally I'm very strong. Physically, I'm actually still suffering from this chronic fatigue syndrome as a result of the virus. So that whole year was just pure mental strength that got me through 1995. 1996 came along and I've lost the mental strength. I'm just not there. So, can you remember Paul McKenna, the stage hypnotist?
Yeah.
He started to work with the NLP inventors, whose name escapes me. It's old age, And I actually rang up his manager to see whether I could get to see him because he was working with sports people. They put me onto the Hypnotherapy Society and I started seeing a hypnotherapist.
Right.
And to get my mental strength back. I won the English Open a couple of weeks afterwards. So that got me interested in the sports psychology, and I did a diploma, an online diploma, got into that. Then I got into neuro-linguistic programming. And then I decided that I wouldn't mind to do hypnotherapy, so I got on a hypnotherapy course. And whilst I was on that course, that would be 2000, I wasn't shooting particularly well. And I remember saying to the guy, I'm fed up with shooting, I'm going to pack it in. And he looked at me and he went, I don't think you've reached your best. He said, I think if you came and worked with me, we could improve that. Same thing again, I went and saw him and he took it, and this is what I learned. that I'd stopped enjoying it. The pressure of being in the Great Britain team and all the stuff that goes with it, and you understand that.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that I took up shooting because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's easy to forget.
So under hypnosis, he programmed me to go out and enjoy my shooting. And it was, again, funny enough, it was the English Open Championship at Besley. And I went out there and I shot 22 on the first round. I was furious. And I was in the caravan and I was throwing the dishcloth around because I was so angry. You can't take that on the range with you. My then ex sticks his head in the door and shuts it quick and disappears. But do you know what? I got rid of all that anger, all that frustration, and I went out there and I ended up winning the English Open. And it was purely because I decided I could enjoy myself again. Yeah. And from then on, I would see that guy regularly. To start with, it would be weekly, then it got to monthly, and then it would be whenever I needed it, and I just kept creeping up. And that's when I started to understand how my brain worked and the triggered response. And in my book, it said about anchoring. When you have a really, really good shoot and you feel really well, you anchor those feelings. And I anchored mine in this little finger. And I'm not even touching it, Ben, but my stomach is just churning because the feelings that you can see on my face, the feelings that I get just thinking about touching that finger with all those magnificent feelings I've anchored of when I've shot really well and enjoyed it so much. It's like, that's a triggered response, and I'm not even touching that finger.
We've got
every time.
We've got 4 minutes before this cuts out. Everybody wants, Les, what's trigger freeze with the brain? How's it work?
It's like a cable that's been twisted up and it's got in a knot, and you open the cable out and then it automatically goes back in a knot. We have to break the connection from the brain to the finger and straighten it out again so that it doesn't get all twisted up. And I've actually worked with 2 or 3 people that have had that and got that changed. I worked with a golfer who got the yips. He couldn't even swing his club. Same thing.
Well, the people are asking.
Hypnosis is brilliant for that.
The people are asking already if you'll come back on another time for us, maybe next week, and do this again.
Yeah, what I would suggest is actually have 1 or 2 specific questions that I could actually answer, so that, if people have got a problem, we can maybe help them get it sorted out.
But everyone's saying, well, can you get Lesley back on for another show? So hopefully we can get you back on next week. Before it cuts off, Lesley, a pre-shot routine. What should be in it? What shouldn't be in it?
Making sure your feet are in the right place, making sure your eyes are ready when you call for the clay. That is the biggest thing that people miss. They put the gun up, your eyes take a nanosecond to be ready. And then when you call, that's when your eyes are ready, that's when you call. If you call before your eyes are ready, how can they see the clay? You will miss, or you'll second barrel. Yeah. The eyes have it. Absolutely.
The eyes have it. The eyes have it. Order. But hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as we have. We've had over 100 viewers already. Thank you
to them for watching.
If I could message you later on, and maybe we can get another date in for next week, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, they can send you some questions.
Yeah, no. This will all be questions from them now, not me. Yeah. So, Lesley, I'm going to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear about your career and experiences. So thank you very much.
You made it sound really good.
Right, speak to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.